Let's move on to the questions of this chapter. What social ideas did the following people support? Now, first we have Ram Mohan Roy. So, as we all know, he was known as Raja Ram Mohan Roy, and he supported all kinds of, reforms about women. First, he demanded that sati must be abolished. First was this. Now he also took measures to, make sure that widow remarriage was successful. And because of his efforts were so great that even the British recognized that these forms of, social discrimination prevailed in the Indian society, and they they made laws which abolished sati and which passed the Widow Remarriage Act. Now, let's come to Dayanand Saraswati. Dayanand Saraswati formed Arya Samaj, which had links with so many reforms that it also supported education of girls. Then it supported widow remarriage as well. It also, I'm sorry, let's move there. It also supported that not the only the females they should be educated, but the caste inequalities should also be avoided. The caste inequalities should not be there. So he also opposed the caste inequalities that were there. We have Sanlingam Pantulu. He led reforms in the Madras presidency, and he led reforms in the area of widow remarriage. We have Jyotirao Phule. Jyotirao Phule, he wrote a book which is known as Gulamgiri. And he was an opposer of, he led reforms towards the equality, and he was against the caste inequalities. And he also, made this parallel junction between the black slaves of America and the untouchables, the lower caste people of India. So he thought that these people, they were enslaved by the Indian people, and they were so back in the social culture that this needed to stop. So he also wrote this book Gulamgiri, which was about the situation that was prevailing in India in comparison to the what the situation was prevailing in the of slavery in the US. Slavery was getting abolished during that time from US. We also have Pandita Ramabai. She was a very vocal reformist who was very vocal for the girls' education, the female education. And she was also, she was also a scholar of Sanskrit, and she opened a widow's home. She was a great scholar of Sanskrit, and she opened a widow's home which allowed widows to take shelter in that home, and they used to teach productive work to the widows there, so that widows, can get themselves economically sustained. So she did a great work towards that. We have Periyar. We have learned about him. He opposed the Brahmanical supremacy, and he also discarded that they were the original inhabitants of India. He said that they were foreigners, and we are not supposed to take orders from foreigners. So basically, the system of caste inequality, which you say that is supreme, which you say that is good, we are not going to follow that, because we are the natives of this land and you are the foreigners. So we are not supposed to take orders from you. So he led the movement against caste inequality. Mumtaz Ali. Now, she also worked towards women education. And she reinterpreted, Quran's scriptures. She reinterpreted the Quran verses, and she said that there was nothing in Quran which prohibited women from learning, which prohibited women from gaining education. So she also did that, and she was also a great supporter. She opened school in various places, and she used to teach women. She used to teach female child. Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, he laid a great many of reforms, but he had his, he gained his popularity in while reforming for the educational rights of women. and he also vehemently opposed the caste inequality. So we all know a famous story about Ishwar Chand Vidyasagar, in which how he was sweeping the stairs, and where he was supposed to be the chief guest, he came there before time, and he was sweeping the stairs, and other people who were the guests, they thought that he was just a sweeper, and they, every time he used to give any salutation, he used to wish them good morning. They did not even used to see him. But when they came to the this thing in which he was the chief guest, when he went up to the stage, and when he started saying his when he started delivering his speech, all the people were surprised. So they thought that this person, he was sweeping the stairs, he was doing a lower caste work some time ago, and now he's just delivering speech. So matlab, what is happening? So Ishwar Chand Vidyasagar was also a vehement opposer of the caste system, the caste inequalities, and he also indulged in himself in all the works that the so-called lower caste people in that time used to do. So we also have reformist in all the ways. Question number 2 is, how did the knowledge of ancient texts help the reformers promote new laws? So when the reformers, they faced an orthodox views, the orthodox analogies and orthodox advocates for the arguments for the maintenance of the caste system, maintenance of the all the things that were happening, that was sati, and the custom of widow, and everything, the backwardness of the women's education. They used to take the help of the ancient scriptures, and they used to present these orthodox followers that, see, these are what your ancient scriptures say, and there is nothing that mentions here that there must be sati system which should prevail, that there is a caste system and the widows should not remarry, or the women should not be allowed to read. So they took the help from Vedas, they took the help from Upanishads, they took the help from the Bhakti and Sufi movements, from everything that they could to teach these orthodox followers in their own way, in their own language. So it often helped them to promote these new laws. Because if we see, then let's take a different view. So let's take it from political science perspective. If we know about the word hegemony, so there's soft power hegemony and there's hard power hegemony. Soft power hegemony is when you install your ideas into some people by peaceful ways, by manipulating them, or by making them understand that what these ideas actually mean. And the hard power hegemony is by making them forcefully making them believe that thing. So they use this to make people understand, to make people rational about these kind of things that was happening, by taking help from the text that those very people they used to believe in. So that is how the knowledge of ancient text helped the reformers in a lot of ways, also to promote the new laws. The Britishers, they also learned that these laws were cruel and they were not even mentioned in the ancient texts. So there was no need for to preserve this tradition, because it was not even mentioned. So there was no need to preserve these laws, and they banned all these orthodox customs. Let's move on to question 3. What were the different reasons people had for not sending girls to school? So first of the reasons that they had these grounds of morality and culturally acceptable ways that were dedicated to the girl child. So they were supposed to act in a certain way. They were not supposed to go out, because it was seen as a disgrace, that if a girl child, if women are allowed to go out, it would be a disgrace to the society, as it might bring attention towards them, or it might not lead to good things happening in the society. It might make them come to the social gatherings and voice their opinions. So basically, they wanted to be the only ones who were allowed voices and opinions in all the matters. They did not want other kind of people who they acclaim to be intellectually inferior to them, who they suppose that they were only supposed to do the household works. They were supposed to do certain kinds of work which they were made for, even biologically. So they did not accept their coming into the social scenario that easily. So that is why there were different reasons that a girl child or a woman were not allowed to go out in social and have education, because it thought that was not appropriate for them. Question 4 is, why were Christian missionaries attacked by many people in the country? Would some people have supported them too? If so, for what reasons? So Christian missionaries were attacked by many people in the country. We have learned in the previous chapter that they were also not openly supported by the Britishers, because of course the Britishers did not wanted to be the bad guys by supporting these Christian missionaries in the eyes of Indians. So they did not want to be the person that supports these kinds of religious institutions, and that could be seen as attack on the native religion of the country. So Britishers did not openly supported them. In this chapter, why they were attacked by the people in country was because they used to they opened, first of all, they opened school for tribals and lower caste people. So they opened school for these two sects, which was not approved by the upper caste people as well as those who claimed themselves to be the superior ones. So that is why they were attacked by many people in the country, because they educated these two sects, and that was not approved by most of the people. But some people have supported them too. Yes, some of the peoples who actually wanted to learn, who were rational, who were educated enough to support these rational views, would have supported them. Like some of the reformers we had, the Britishers also supported them in the sense that they did not withdraw all the support from them. They allowed them to establish these institutions. The Indians also supported them by, people obviously went to the Christian missionaries to have education. So in a way, Indians are also supporting them. And if so, for what reasons? For the reasons of education, for the reasons of removing these caste inequalities, for the reasons of progressing towards a modern society where all the people could be educated and there was a prevalence of a casteless society. So of course, many of the reformers and many people who wanted other people to be educated and the people who wanted themselves to be educated supported them. Question 5. In the British period, what new opportunities opened up for people who came from the caste that were regarded as low? So in this case, we have seen that during the First World War, the people who were known as Mahars, they were the workers who were supposed to make shoes with the use of leather. So because the leather was the leather came from the dead animals, so they used to considered untouchables. They used to be considered as untouchables, people from the lower caste, because to touch a dead animal was not very sacred thing to do during that time, and they were doing that job. So that is why they were untouchables, because they were touching the dead animals and they were making shoes out of them. But during the First World War, the army of the British, they needed boots, they needed supplies of shoes for their army men. And in this time, these Mahars, they gained a lot of profit because they were the only ones who could make shoes. Of course, the upper caste people won't touch the shoes because that was considered as a taboo. That was considered as a job for lower caste people. So these Mahars, they gained a huge profit because they had this monopoly in the First World War that only they were supposed to make shoes. So in British period, these kinds of new opportunities, it came for the period. Of course, this is the first example. The second example is when the industries were getting established in the cities, these lower caste people moved to the cities for the employment purposes, because there were some works that, of course, the upper caste people won't be employed because they would refuse to do that. So these people, they found that employment in the cities that were in the industries that were being established in cities. That job would be secured for them because only they were supposed to do that jobs. The jobs such as cleaning and taking out things, the garbage things. So that were the things that were associated with these people. It is a shame that it was associated with this, but at least at that point of time they had something to rely upon. So they had this at least a little economical gain. That's all we can, a very thin light of positive ray that we can see. Let's see question 6. How did the reformers justify their criticism of caste inequality in society? So reformers had a lot of arguments to give to justify for inequality in a society, caste inequality in a society. Of course, there's no justification in the present society for the caste system whatsoever. A rational person would not justify the caste system in the present society. But at that time, you had to come up with many justifications because the people, they were adopted to a certain level of thinking, and they were not ready to back up from that level and move on to something different, move on to a progressive thing, because they thought that this was not progressive, rather They saw this as an attack to their culture. So these reformers, they took the help of first ancient texts. They took a lot of help from the ancient texts. They used to give examples, taking ancient text, taking the scriptures of the ancient text, which did not mention any of the orthodox cultures that were happening during that time. Also, they gave so many examples that what if these all people are included at the same level of what the people were actually, having, like what all the upper caste people, the men of the upper caste people are actually having those rights. Like they advocated for the women reform by saying that none of the ancient scriptures, none of the religious books stops women from gaining education. They also some of the female scholars which came up, after homeschooling, they also came up and they also, set up establishments and institutions for the, literacy of the female child, the education of the female and the girl child. So it also was one of the justification that if a girl child is being taught, she would be an asset to this society. Other people, they were also, giving justification in various forms, such as the caste inequality only prevailed in this system and it was not, there from the ancient times. Another example which we can see is the Aryan's example, where some of the people who belong to the native place, who they opposed this caste supremacy, the Brahminical supremacy, on the ground that if they call themselves that they are descendants of the Aryans, then the Aryans were foreigners to our native land, and this is supposed to be our land, so we are not taking orders from you. So of course this was also a justification which they gave. They also gave justification of the Western kind of living, Western way of living, Western culture, that female were educated equally. The female was seen as an equal and they were supposed to be getting the same rights as that of man. So of course these are many kinds of justification that they gave during that time.